What's up, YouTube? This is Lucas. I'm back again with another Race Studio 3 video. This time I'm going to do a comparison of my last year's best at VIR North on my SV650 versus the speed I got up to at the previous ASRA weekend about 2 weeks ago there at VIR North. I went from a 146.2 or something, being my previous best the last time I was there last year, to a 141.58 or so. So I'm going to go through where I found that time using Race Studio 3 with the data I got from my regular AIM Solo 2, so just GPS data. And then after that I'm going to compare myself to Nolan Lamkin and figure out where I can find more time next time I go back, and what I should work on and what I should kind of just ignore. So I'm going to give a brief explanation of what's what in Race Studio 3. Once you get 2 laps up to compare them, you're going to have an X and a Y chart. The Y chart up and down for each thing is the value. So the main thing I look at is GPS speed. Next thing I look at is, it's actually down here, it is brake G-forces, which is kind of like a faux brake pressure graph, but since I don't have brake pressure or any other data logging data, I use brake G's, which is very close and close enough for me for figuring out what I need to do better. And what I like about brake G's is it's the same across all platforms. It doesn't matter the master cylinder or brake pads, it just cares about how much you're slowing your bike at that particular time. And then I look at lean angle, so from that I can determine how much I'm leaning when I'm tipping in versus how long I'm holding that lean, different stuff. I don't really care about the number because it's just a calculation. It's not a true IMU lean angle, but it's good just for a reference. So let's just get into it. Oh, and the x-axis is distance traveled in feet as you go across the track. And then down here, the thing I look at a lot is time compare. So I look at GPS speed first, and then time compare, and then I kind of go into this stuff to see where I'm doing differently. So like I said, I found about 4.5 seconds since last year when I just did a track day. So I changed my gearing from 1546 to 1544, and because of that I was able to hit a top speed of 125 instead of 123 or so, and I was able to keep it longer because with that 1546 I ran out of gearing really quick. Then going into turn 1, let me get my notes up. Yeah, so higher top speed, more confidence on the brakes, so I broke, I don't know, 50 or 100 feet later. Then going in, as I get to the slow point of turn 1, right at almost the end of this curbing, I'm already 0.7 seconds ahead of my previous best. And then going in, you can also see I got more confidence on the brakes going in. And then lean angle wise, as I get into turn 1, I hold my lean angle on the right side of the tire for longer while accelerating, as opposed to trying to stand the bike up too much, which points me off track, so I have to give back throttle. So by keeping the bike on the right side of the tire, I am able to get the bike to full throttle and then just hold it as I exit turn 2. Then going into turn 3, tip in about the same time. I think I broke harder later. The red lap, by the way, is the faster lap, or the red line. I always make my fast line red and my slower lap blue. So pretty similar, but I get to a higher top speed coming out, and I brake a little later going into 3. I think of 2 as more like a kink than I do an actual turn. And coming out of 3, it's about the same. Then between 3 and 4, about the same. Difference is coming out of 4A. Right here, I build up to a certain speed, and instead of rolling off the throttle completely, I keep it cracked open to push me through the turn. And then as I go into 5A, I have a higher top speed, or a higher speed here to build on, which is probably the second most important chunk of time coming around. So I get up to, instead of 68, I get up to 71, and then by the time I hit the apex of 5A, I am at 67 instead of 61. Then exiting there, I hit wide open throttle around here instead of like here, around here, as you can see in the speed graph. Anytime there's a line, that's where you're losing chunks of time. So then coming out, by the way, I'm up 2.5 seconds of my previous best just by the time I go into, or 2.7 seconds by the time I go into the right hand turn 7. So then I have a lower or a later slow point going into 7 and pretty much no neutral throttle. If you can see that line right there, the blue line, how it's flat, means I'm rolling neutral throttle just to get through the turn, starting there. But here I get to this point of the track and it's back to wide open throttle. Your lines should look like V's at the bottom, not U's, or flat like the bottom, or a U if you made the lines flat. Yeah, so then the time will start going up again. Exiting 7, get to a higher top speed and have more confidence going into 9A. So then there's another 0.5 seconds just in that easy straight up and down time. Nothing on the side of the tire where all the risk is. And coming through here, going into the waterfall or turn 10, get to a higher top speed and I have a lot more confidence on the brakes. So I brake lightly later. Let me see if I missed anything in my notes. Yeah, nothing missed. So, and a later slow point. So that little gap right there yields me probably another 0.5. Or yeah, so from just here, from here, 3.2, I'm gonna head 3.2 to there is almost a whole second. So 9A to 10. And it's straight up and down time, almost just like the other chunk of time, like here and there. Then going to the waterfall, brake later, and then once I get here, it's about the same slow point almost. Or no, I take it back. Slow points later, another good thing, because I would call this an entry turn, so the slow point should be right about there, as opposed to up here. The slow point, I mean, is the part where you transition from slowing to accelerating or braking to accelerating. And then about the same coming out of the waterfall and down 11. I think I tip, or I can see it. I do tip in. I take a wider line and tip in later going into this. I try to just lightly touch the front brake lever just to load that tire. Then I grab a downshift. And then right here, I get a better exit coming out of hog pen, as you can see. Even though I pick up throttle sooner, I'm getting to wide open throttle sooner on the red line. That's why you see that gap right there, because I'm having to roll off, because I'm almost running off the track on the blue line, which is slower, the 146. And then, believe it or not, since I had different gearing, I get up to a higher speed coming through here, even though I got the better exit on the red lap. But since I held a tighter line, I made the track shorter. It didn't really yield much time difference right here. So all the way around, ended up being 4.7 seconds different. So yeah, a lot of time there, a lot of time there, and then an accumulated good amount of time there is where I made it, and then right here in the exit. So now let's look at myself versus Nolan's lap. I'll take this off, and these are your laps of the sessions you have up at the current time. Back to here. Nolan's on an R6, so clearly he's going to be faster, but I can still glean a little bit. For Nolan, I think, or myself versus Nolan, what I think I'm going to work on if I get to go again this year, or if it's next year, is pick a slightly better or later brake marker going in. I'm pretty confident on the brakes going into 1. I switched from the SBS dual carbons to EBC's EPFA, and I really like them. I don't have to use as much pressure on the lever as I did. I'm also switching from a Brembo 19x18 fixed ratio to an R6 master cylinder, which should give me some more modulation. So slow point's too early. I think it's because I'm tipping in too late, so I'm having to overslow this section, and then by the time I get to here, I've lost all my speed, so I have to pick up the throttle. I would rather my slow point be maybe 5 to 10 feet later, and then coming through here, not much I can do. Just losing a lot on the drive. I might try pushing out a little bit wider, similar to like what a Miata would do if they're at VIR. They use the whole side of the track. And then coming through here, I think I'm going to treat it more like a kink and use less track on the exit, and just hug as left as the bike will take me while I'm on the left side of the tire with my knee down. Then brake, going into 3. That's the only spot I'm really losing a ton of roll speed. The difference in turn 3 is almost 8 miles per hour, so I think if I brake a little later, I should have a better slowdown or entry speed going into 3. And then the big thing that I'm going to work on, that'll give me a better speed coming out of 3 into 4 too, is as I exit 4A and 4B, I roll off the throttle completely right here. That way I hit this apex really well, but I think I'm going to open the throttle coming out of 4A, which is here, and then catch it with, say, 50% throttle, and then leave the bike on the side of the tire, and not do that little stand-up thing as I roll off. I just have to be real smooth with it, because I'll be on the side of the tire. But I still have some wiggle room. I'm big, and I'm probably, even though my max lean angle says, where is it? 58 and 54. I think it's closer to maybe 48 and 50. And then come around. So that should clean up this big gap. So instead of, I'll never be as close this fast with an SV, but I hopefully can get closer. And I know I was getting passed a few times by Chris Parrish of Ghetto Customs. I think one of the warm-up laps and the GTL laps after they had started lapping us, I got passed in this exact zone, which is a good sign. Then not much to do there. I'm not going to worry about it. Just a better braking point going into 7. Then a little more confidence, maybe not use the brakes at all going into 9C and just downshift, which I'm already downshifting. And then hug tighter going through 9B and C, and hopefully get the bike pointed up to the waterfall faster. Get a little bit of time there. Then, similar to what I do for 4A and 4B, or what I need to do, I'm going to do the same thing for here, so build up more speed coming down the waterfall. That way, instead of getting to 91 as a peak speed, I get to maybe 95. 100 would be cool. And then I can scrub all that speed going into Hogpen, because right now I'm scrubbing too much speed and I'm having to pick up the throttle there. So similar to what I did to my previous best, I still need to improve on that. So right now I'm braking right here. I might try braking and downshifting. I might try just downshifting and letting my slow point be later, because right about here is where I pick up the throttle, and right about here is where I'm hitting full throttle, which is the same thing Nolan's doing, but he's gaining 1.2 seconds in just that chunk of time from the bottom of the waterfall to there. And then after that, it's just hold the throttle on, the throttle stop, and take a couple breathers. Hope this helps. I plan to do a few more at tracks I go to. Probably do NC Bike next. That's my home track. Jennings, CMP, maybe Summit. I think we're going there in a few weeks. If you want me to do this for you and you have AIM data, shoot me an email. My email is weighttransferperformance@gmail.com. Thank you.